Welcome to How to Sell More. Today, we are digging into how to fix the sales and marketing disconnect that hurts so many businesses. I am joined in this conversation with Lavall Chichester, who, in addition to being a bare-knuckle Kyokushin Karate champion, is also a performance-driven growth marketing expert with a real focus on SEO and content marketing. And while that focus is really important and interesting, in fact, it's so good that he's been recognized as one of Ad Age's 40 under 40 for innovating in this space, the real conversation is around how we fix the divide between sales teams and marketing teams so they can work together and sell more. I'm Mark Drager. Let's get into it. So Lavall, I was actually at an event last week, and the topic that we're covering today came up so many times. I was at an event filled with direct response marketing people, and the number one complaint they said is, hey, make sure your sales team knows what you have out in the market. Because often a sales team will get a lead, they'll call up the lead, and then they go like, wait, what? What did our company promise? What did we say was going to happen? What is going on? And I can't believe that we still have businesses where sales and marketing aren't working hand in hand with each other because, I mean, it's make or break for all of our businesses, right?
Absolutely. And I'll give it goes all the way too. You know, I was a chief marketing officer for an outsourced sales company. And right now I run a company called Growth Skills, which is my own consultancy. But when I got there, the sales team would just sell whatever. And then by the time the marketing team had to come to deliver, it's an agency function. So if I'll give you an example, one time they said, hey, we'll write 1,000 pieces of content every month, 1,000 articles every month. Obviously, the client bought that at a ridiculous rate. By the time it came to the marketing team to actually execute and write those articles, it's impossible. They don't do that as a company, right? And so there's this very much disconnect between sales and marketing, and it goes both ways. So
how do we, I'm going to ask how we bridge the gap, but I have to believe it's just like, hey guys, it's like every romantic comedy ever. Why don't you just talk to each other? Like, why does this exist? Why is this so common? Why is this something that we can't just be like, hey guys, we're all grown-ups, talk to each other?
There's two things that I found, two reasons this happens, right? There's no goals that they both teams, both sales and marketing have to ladder up to, right? So marketing team would say, hey, my goal is to get you a lead. And then the sales team, their goal is to close that lead, right? But marketing will celebrate and high five when they're selling doo-doo leads to the sales team, but hey, we got you a lead. And then sales gets mad at my marketing because those are doo-doo leads. They won't close, right? They have to have the same goals. If the teams have the same goals, which means marketing is part of that closed won sale, then all of this goes away because the goal is a closed won revenue sale. It's not marketing getting a lead. That should not be marketing's goal. You know what I mean? And then the other solve is having one person that they ladder up to, right? So in many experiences that I've seen, you've got the marketing team lead, again, has different goals than the sales team lead. They have different goals and they're at war. And the war, once first blood is drawn, communication is not happening. It's like
I can just imagine them. I can imagine the marketing team is like working off there in the dark and they're doing all this stealth stuff. And then you see the sales team and they're putting on their war paint and they're like, let's make sure that sales is in charge here.
Yeah, I mean, it's like really, it's cultural. It turns into a cultural thing where you see, marketing. And I'm a marketing guy. I started in marketing, search engine optimization. This is where I started. I learned sales later on when I had to go take over this role. And in that role, we were building sales teams for Twitter, now called X. We were building out their sales teams, Alibaba. So we were building out really hardcore sales teams. But at that company, which was doing sales for other people, the dysfunction was crazy. And again, it's because sales never talked. Well, they didn't even want to talk because marketing, if their goal is to get 1,000 leads, they'd be like, hey, we did our goal. Boom, at happy hour. But sales guys are missing quota because the leads are garbage. They're not high quality leads. So at the end of the day, everyone then gets mad and it becomes a hostile environment and it's, it could be avoided.
I've seen this so many times. So when you were at Jump Crew, where you were the CMO, and I've seen this in other organizations where the head of marketing gets hired, they get brought in, and they have a quota. The first company I worked for, I think we had a sales team of 180 people. It was in franchising, so they were franchise development. And I was on the franchise development marketing team, and my VP walked in and said, "Guys, you want us to generate 18,000 leads a month? There's going to be a lot of bad leads. Like they're not good." And he said this to the sales team, and the sales team said, "Finally, someone in marketing is admitting they're not good." And then he went, "So let's make them good." And they said, "Finally, someone in marketing wants to make these leads good." And he said, "We're only going to be able to give you like 1,200. And they went, "Whoa, whoa, 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 hold on a second. What do you mean? What? No. We want 18,000 leads. We want 18,000 high quality leads. That's your job." So we all face this balance of volume over quality, quantity over quality. How do you start to address these cultural divides, and how do you start to address challenges like this when sales is hungry for leads, but they want high quality leads, and marketing's like, "Well, what do you want us to do exactly?"
I think that's the real challenge. And I think it's starting and accepting the lower number and seeing what you could get out of that, right? Because at some point, depending on what channel you're running, if you're running Google Ads, there's a lot of the point of diminishing returns. There's a lot of waste. It also depends on what type of return on investment you're trying to get in terms of spend for those leads, right? Like marketing is not magic. Like it's just not. It really depends, honestly. And it depends on if sales is also, the other thing I learned is like how much information is the sales team giving back to the marketing teams from a messaging standpoint, objections. So your sales teams are your front line. So they're getting the objections and they know what to handle. Those things should be built into your ads that you're running, whether they're Google ads, display ads, on the landing page that marketing are using, so that you could have that synergy.
So for example, when you were at Jump Crew, like walk us through the very specific steps you took to fix this.
When I was over there, when I got in, the first thing I did was I made sure that I created goals. First of all, I asked everyone a lot of questions, right, to figure out what is going on and why there's this war between families, basically, right? One side versus the other. And then in that analysis, I found out what was happening. I found out that, leads were coming in. They weren't good leads. So sales were like, "Hey, I got to close a deal. I'm going to sell anything." And then it just turned into a churn business, because if you're going to sell anything to a client, when marketing now has to deliver, right? Because they're selling marketing services, when marketing has to deliver and sales has sold them something they can't deliver on, then it's quick churn, right? This is what's going to happen, because the client's going to leave. So what I did was I changed everything from the website. So, the website did not match the sales material. So it just looked totally different. So,
but like look, the feel, the message, like it just wasn't
everything.
This is typical because most people will build a website once every few years, but their sales and marketing strategies and their direct response or their landing pages or whatever is constantly changing. First, you came in, you spoke to people, you figured out what the issue was, and then you started to align the brand with the message kind of across the board for consistency's sake.
From before that, from an organizational standpoint, my role was a marketing role, right? I did not oversee sales. And I told the CEO, I was like, they all have to ladder up to me for this to work. And then he was like, "Cool."
Oh, you did a play. You took over the sales team. Okay, great.
Because, and this is for one specific product, which is at the time, their full funnel product that we were selling. I hit it up, like their head of sales, who I was working with, this excellent dude. I love him to death still. But we came together because I asked him all the problems, and I got his buy-in. I was like, "Yo, the only way to solve these is if you all could ladder up to me." And he was cool with it, because it's about winning as a team. Once that happened, I built a plan, and it's shocking that there was no plan. You have a product, there's no go-to-market, there's no plan. So, and I'm not talking bad about them at all or anything like that. There's a lot of problems that I had to solve, and also building the product. Like, what is the full funnel product that they have? So building that, long story short, fixing that and giving goals. All of the goals had to align to us. And the goals were like, low CAC, low cost acquisition. We had to have high upsell. So what we built had to naturally be able to upsell. And if it had high upsell, no churn, then we collectively had to have high quality leads. It's not that marketing and sales will say if the leads were high quality. So we track that.
Did you implement lead scoring, or how did you?
We did lead scoring through Pardot, but even that was still not perfect. And we had a Salesforce stack in which we were sort of stuck on. So, and we did lead scoring through Pardot. It's more about like, what of the services that we're selling, what's closing and what's retaining and turning into new business, right? Like being very specific about that, and looking at, okay, of all the contracts that we sent out, what turned into new business. And I actually functioned more of like a chief product officer at the time too, because again, like that company pivoted their business from doing like social media for like lower clients, so like small business social media, which the nature of that product was a churn product, right? So when I came in, I was literally rebuilding products for them to sell and helping them stand up their outsourced sales product, which is what they started to sell, and also building margins into the marketing offering that they had and all of that.
This is such a great illustration, though, of what it takes. Because, if you're a business owner and you have a sales team or you have a marketing team, or maybe you're working with a fractional CMO or you're working with ad agencies, if you don't have that partner who can come in and consider sales and marketing, but also pricing and how are we going to develop the product and what's our go-to-market strategy and what's our positioning. And it sounds like a lot of the work you were doing was, in fact, just asking really simple questions, using the insight you're learning from those answers to be able to continue to make changes. Like, none of it sounds like rocket science, but it sounds like you put the right steps in place and you focused on far more than just marketing, or far more than just sales, or far more than just like, you're working on pricing and business strategies at this point. And I believe that that's what it in fact takes, and why so many people struggle with sales and even with marketing is because they look at the tactics as opposed to this more holistic approach to like, how do we sell more? Like, right?
Absolutely. And what are the margins in what you're selling, right? I think I'm at age 40 under 40 when I built the Profero. So Profero is an agency based out of London. When I got hired as like a junior SEO analyst, and in 2 years, I think I was able to really establish the SEO group. But when they asked me to take it over, the entire thing, paid search and SEO, so Google Ads and search engine optimization, I said, I'm not going to do this unless you let me do it a different way. And then they said, what? And I said, we have to integrate search. So we have to sell search. So if the clients at this time, we were dealing with Western Union and Kaiser Permanente, and these clients, they understood that you put money and you could get money out of Google, right? And they're like, okay, SEO, that's cool, but we don't know how to work. So I said, look, we're going to sell search. So for Western Union, for example, at the time, when you typed how to send money, because I ran both their Google Ads and their SEO, they were in the top position, number one for Google Ads and in SEO. And so what this does is, if you dominate both positions, it pushes PayPal under the fold and their competitors. And PayPal, at the time, outspent Western Union 10-1. So they didn't have the Google ad budget. So you had to work these things together. And because I'm self-taught, I understood that, right? And that changed the game for that company. So then, I turned that group from 500K to 2 million in less than a year, and then to 5 million quickly after that. That put me on at age 40, under 40. And I've been refining and just building margins into everything. And that's why that company was able to get sold, because my group had let's say we had one client, we were charging them 900K a year for the SEO retainer. The team that was running that retainer, their salaries all in was about 200K. That $700,000 just falls to the bottom line. And because of that, then, Profero as an agency was able to get acquired by IPG, because I had crazy margins built into the business that we're building, right? So fast forward now, running my own agency, that's how we operate. And
yeah, so I was going to ask you about growth skills. Tell us what it is and help us understand how you approached this based off of everything you've learned.
Yeah, so in the past 20 years of doing this, I realized that there's a few things. So when you look at these companies, especially if you're doing e-commerce or even some B2B SaaS, they need to get a customer, and then they need to increase the value of that customer, right? And prevent churn. So our approach to that is growth marketing, where we're doing the SEO, the paid search, that stuff at the top of the funnel, and then getting them to convert. And then were using things like email marketing and their CRM, their HubSpot setup to increase the value of the money they spend, average order value, cart size, and all of that, rebooking, upsell, cross-sell. So that's what we started doing it. Another thing is like we have a learning platform where we know that all customers, all clients, they need to be trained. So the best way to do that is to give them access to, Learning IQ, which is our platform, so that they could understand what search engine optimization is when we talk about it. So they don't think it's magic. It's not magic. And it's very, very important because the way AI is disrupting things with Google's new search experience. The next 6 months, a lot of companies are going to lose a lot of website rankings and traffic and conversions as a result of that, and which is going to be revenue and sales as well. So
are we on the edge? Because I feel like we are. We know that Google has officially said that it does not care if content is AI written, as long as it's high quality, as long as it meets all of its standards. So are we on the edge of a new land grab, like a digital land grab for rankings? Because I feel like a bunch of people are disrupting and a bunch of people are going to be really late to the game.
Yeah, so the thing with rankings is this, and this is just before Google, before this whole update, it's execution. So and this is why at Growth, because we actually own our own brand. So we built the first publishing platform that caters to cannabis, CBD, and alcohol. It's called Flavor Fix, right? And we built it because for CBD and cannabis brands, it's hard to bid on Google. You can't do it on Google and Facebook. So we built it, right? As a result, Pfizer and GSK launched a CBD brand, gave us money to promote it on that. And Google couldn't. We figured out how to do it now. But so we built an asset for ourselves and we're growing it, right? But the difference is, because my craft is SEO, there's no convincing. And this is also business strategy. So instead of going to a client and saying, hey, client, right? Hey, cannabis or CBD client, let me build this property for you. I said, no, I know this is going to work. I know that if you rank for a keyword, you're going to get traffic, and a portion of that is going to help me build an email list with an audience that I could resell to all of the CBD clients. So we just built it and we invested our time in it, used our skills, and executed. To answer the other question, the companies that execute, that build SEO and content into the DNA, the thesis of their business, they're going to win, and they will always win. That's why when you look at Expedia, TripAdvisor, all those companies, their thesis of the business was to build a platform that extracted people's search demand onto their platform and then grow and use that to grow the brand, right? And TripAdvisor even masterfully ran TV campaigns that said, don't just search New York, search TripAdvisor New York. And they use TV to tap into human behavior, which is search, to show an experience. And spikes for TripAdvisor New York rocketed, TripAdvisor Rome rocketed if you looked at Google Trends when they ran these spots. And then for like 12 cents, they captured that for free organically, but they ran Google ads to capture that, right? It's that level of knowing that there's a thing called human behavior. It's search, and then everything's a search engine. YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, they're all search engines. So understanding that Google's not the only player in town, that's how you win. And they execute. Like a lot of times I'll take all the strategy, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And then the client will be like, oh, well, my tech team can't do blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, cool. Then you're not going to make more money out of, you're not going to be found. And your competitor who they know that their whole fucking business plan includes this. They're not playing around. They're literally outranking you, and they're going to expand into every country. And then when this hits, as people drop, they're going to take more share, and that's how the game goes. So,
oh man, we've covered so much ground, and I feel like I could just talk to you all day and pick your brain. If we were at the same event, we'd be sitting actually, at the bar or whatever, and I would just continually to pick your brain. So this has been awesome, Lavall. Final question for you. I end every episode the same way. I would like to know your number one tip or strategy. We can cover off what we've talked about, or it can be anything at all. Your number one tip or strategy for us to sell more.
Building a fantastic product, man. I just did I've been doing these posts on LinkedIn about like halal guys, and I did one about halal guys today, and about I did sriracha, the Hung Voice.
The sriracha sauce. There was a shortage for like a year. It just hit the shelves again.
It's not a sriracha shortage. It's a shortage of his product. You know what I mean? There's tons of sriracha out there.
Yeah, but the only one I buy is the one with the rooster on it.
There you go. So there's a shortage of his sriracha, but that exactly proves my point. It's when you have a product that is so good that, in his case, it is synonymous now with that word sriracha, which is just a sauce. Building a very good product that solves a need. That's what halal guys did. What the halal guys out of New York, what they did, 3 Egyptian immigrants, they came to New York. What they did was they were serving hot dogs. They pivoted to create halal food for Muslims, Muslim cabbies. And that worked because there were very little choice out there for that audience. But then they blew up because their product was exceptional. Their white sauce is exceptional. And at the end of the day, sales and marketing can't beat that because your product just sells itself. More people, and I've seen this. I'll end with this. Sometimes being an excellent salesperson can get in your way. Being an excellent marketing person can get in your way, because when you get to the point where you think you could sell anything and you think you could market anything, and you find a product that is terrible, you're gonna hit a wall on a real truth, right? So point is, build an incredible product, and once you have that incredible product, the sales and marketing is natural.
Okay, to wrap up this conversation, let's hit the 3-point roundup. Number 1, we talked about the importance of sales and marketing alignment, because frankly, when sales teams and marketing teams are miscommunicating or working against each other, each kind of carving out their little territory, the business goes nowhere. Number 2, and we really dug into this with the episode with Lee Benson, where we talked about your most important number and the drivers. But number 2, you need unified goals to be able to drive success. If both teams are working together, if they're both working on the common goals, the common objectives with similar KPIs, different tactics, different skill sets, but both for the same goal, then you will be able to go so much further, so much faster. And number 3, you really do need a single leader in charge of both the sales teams and the marketing teams, or the sales activities and the marketing activities. You need that common leader to be able to look at everything and bring it all together and make sure everyone is marching in lockstep. This is whether it's your team, this is whether it's outsourced agencies, or if you're working with freelancers, or you're doing it all yourself. If you do it yourself, you probably are that centralized person. But anytime that you start to work with other specialists, they are always going to think that their specialty is the most important thing and their KPI is the only thing that matters. And you and I know that the only thing that really matters is how do we sell more. And so with that, I want to thank Lavall Chichester for joining us. You can learn more about him by heading over to his profile on LinkedIn. You can check out his company, Growth Skills, or you can find him on Instagram, Mr. Chichester OG. Now, while you're on Instagram, why not do a quick search for @SalesLoopBrand, our agency, and give us a follow as well. Maybe leave a few comments. Let us know what you're thinking. Send us a DM. That would be awesome. And one last thing. If you've made it this far into the show, you really should subscribe. Why? Well, because each week we share practical tips and strategies just like those that Lavall shared with us today to supercharge your business growth and to boost sales. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. I'm Mark Drager, and I'll catch you in the next one.